Hey folks, welcome in. Good to see you, Roller. And well, I guess we could do some poetry and some dissertation stuff. Yeah. Let's see. I think I took last night off. Friday night I took off. Streaming tonight. Streaming tomorrow night, Sunday night. And then Monday night. Normally I might squeeze in an extra stream. But I'm actually, due to some scheduling issues, going to be running my Thursday night D&D game on Monday night this coming week. And there's no stream for certain on Monday. So I'll have my Thursday night game will be Monday night. Then my Tuesday night game is the same time as always. And then Wednesday night I'll probably be streaming. Thursday night I am moderating a literary event, an online event. So kind of hosting and moderating a Q&A afterwards. Someone else is doing the presentation, the webinar. I'm just doing the conversation and interview and Q&A afterwards. And Friday night, most likely streaming. Not certain. I'm on the fence about how to use my Friday nights right now. So yeah, we'll see. I'm debating. I think if I'm up to it, I might stream Friday night. It's kind of funny. I keep on thinking, I could use my Friday night for like a social life of some sort. And then I think, but I'm broke right now. It's funny how you move to Toronto and you get paid more, but then your expenses also rise, and then you find yourself equally strapped for cash at the end of the month. So it's like groceries are expensive, rent is expensive, taking care of all the registration, insurance, and auto repairs needed to get my car registered and licensed and registered in Ontario. That all added up, and it was like whatever buffer I had for the month disappeared. It's like, welcome to adult life. But anyways, I was thinking about it on Friday. I started doing some research into possibly. I think I'm going to apply to teach some continuing education courses in the fall. Oh, thank you. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do it. Streaming is just for fun, but I do appreciate the bets. But yeah, I figure. I think I'm going to apply to teach a continuing education course in the fall, and that might mean I give up one of my streaming nights to teach an online course. But it would definitely give me more of a buffer financially to do that. And that's if they'll take me. So I don't know how many applicants they get to teach. I talked to someone who occasionally teaches for them, and she said that they're always looking. And the application seems pretty straightforward. So I think I'm going to do that tomorrow and see if they bite. And if they do, then happy to teach something in the fall. And then I could wear two hats. I can wear my librarian hat, and then in the evening I could wear my poetry professor hat. Okay, so here we are. If you haven't gathered this already, I am, in addition to being a TLD streamer, a writer, a former computer games programmer, a full-time, actually it's not really true, I'm not full-time. I'm a part-time creative writing coach, manuscript editor. I'm a full-time librarian now. And, but I am interested in teaching. And we are going to get to that. We're going to read the dissertation stuff. So, if you're new here or you're catching up later on, Roller has just put a request in a little earlier for me to read something from my dissertation, which is an ongoing request that I put in as a joke and has actually become kind of a mainstay of this channel. So we are going to do that. So hold on while I pull something up here to read from. Do research. Dissertation, final version. There we go. Okay, let's figure out which chapter we're going to read from. I say, oh really? See, I've wanted to track like all the appearances of the Mechanical Turk in literature, or variations on the Mechanical Turk in literature, because I do think it is really literature and film and TV, because I do think it shows up a lot more than people expect. I've seen it show up in the middle of like a British murder mystery. I've seen it show up in Doctor Who. It just kind of shows up all sorts of weird places. Let's see here. Okay, so we got 4 potential chapters to read from. We're going to choose one at random. Is that 2? Yeah, it's 2. So we're going to go with chapter 2, or the second. Not the introduction. I guess we're in chapter 1. And chapter 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts conveniently. So we will roll to see which one we're going to hear. 3. Okay. Okay, so 3 puts us into the Turk as atomic. See, we were just talking about the Turk, and there we are. 62? No. 23. Okay, so we'll go to 23. Okay, so this is from the chapter about the Mechanical Turk, or the automaton chess player. Here we go. The Turk as autonomous actor. It was one thing to argue that the Turk was an automatic chess player, i.e. a clockwork device that mechanically played a game of chess. We're going to move this over here so I'm looking at the camera. Play a game of chess based on predetermined moves, and quite another to suggest that it possessed the ability or will to choose its own moves in response to another player's. I mean, this is kind of really apropos to the current moment where we're talking about artificial intelligence and general intelligence, but that be set aside because this is actually a fake machine. From the earliest exhibitions of the Turk, a clear distinction was made by observers and commentators between the moving force, vis motrix, and the guiding force, vis directrix. I don't know why I'm putting on that accent because it makes no sense because I don't speak Latin. As they applied to the actions of the automaton chess player. Windage, for one, is adamant that the two forces are independent, and that while the moving force by which the automaton mechanically manipulates and places pieces can be located in the, quote, simple operation of winding up the springs of the arm of the machine, end quote, the force or power which guides its movements and interactions is distinctly different and not so easily located. The nature and ultimate location of the automaton's governing power was the central conundrum of the Turk. The sight of an automaton moving on its own power and acting without visible human intervention led some to conclude that the machine was possessed and animated by an evil spirit. That's actually in some of the early accounts, which is very funny. Most early observers, however, avoided ascribing the automaton's actions to supernatural causes and sought instead to find rational ones. Many initially assumed that the Turk's movements were actually manipulated remotely by von Kempelen, who was the inventor, through some unseen means of communication, but were puzzled by the distance that he maintained from the automaton and the minimal physical contact required for its operation. Some who had seen extravagant displays of magnetism in Paris or in the Austrian court speculated that a lodestone must be the means here employed to direct the arm. This too von Kempelen debunked, offering anyone to bring one as close as he pleases to the table, the strongest and best arm magnet that can be found, or any weight or iron whatsoever, without the least fear that the movements of his machine will be affected or disturbed by it. While quelling speculations that the automaton was being controlled by magnetism, von Kempelen did encourage competing speculations that some other force was at play. Both Dutton and Windage report that von Kempelen, upon completing the elaborate display of the Turk's mechanical composition and confirming its independence from adjacent human operators, would pick up a small wooden case from among the Turk's accompanying items and hold it prominently in hand, then open it from time to time to examine its contents, which were unknown to the company. Despite, as Windage, so it might as well have been holding on to a smartphone, right? It's like, oh, look at this. Let me communicate. Yeah. Despite, as Windage notes, the common wisdom that this case is totally a detached piece, merely calculated to distract the attention, von Kempelen continued to assure his viewers that the automaton could not play without it. Of course. Classic magician misdirection. What was the purpose of the case? Why was it so vital to the performance? Without the existence of the case and its mysterious influence on the automaton, viewers would be left with a visibly mechanical figure constructed of purely inanimate and inorganic material. Given the vitalist understanding of life as an externally supplied animating force, for the automaton chess player to be believable, the animating force needed to have a home, namely the case held by von Kempelen. However, by the time of the Turk's reappearance in the 19th century with its new owner and exhibitor, Johann and Meisel, the vitalist theories of life had begun to give way to materialist ones. The small case had disappeared from the performance. In the absence of the notion of an external animating force, or power, observers scrutinized the mechanical organization of the Turk with a renewed focus, seeking for a material explanation of its apparently intelligent actions. For most, what they observed was insufficient to place faith in the machinery itself to perform intelligently. It was no longer enough to observe a cabinet full of machinery and trust that somehow the configuration of gears, pulleys, and levers amounted to a mechanized form of intelligence. Okay, so we'll stop there. Basically what this is all really about is that the Turk went through two major world tours. In the first world tour at the end of the 18th century, there were still sort of lingering beliefs about vitalism, which was that there was some essential or intrinsic life force that, basically it was a pretty way to say a semi-scientific way to talk about a soul without actually talking about a soul. So it's like some sort of animating force there. That's vitalism. In fact, if you went back and you looked at those who experimented, Galvin, who experimented with shooting electricity into dead creatures and then having them momentarily animate, that galvanism, which led to sort of the appearance of reanimating something, which also inspired Frankenstein, or Mary Shelley's writing of Frankenstein, was part of that earlier belief in vitalism. And as people gave up on that or moved away from that notion that there had to be some vital force that imparted animating power and life, therefore, to an object, and start to look at, it's actually material. It's actually, life is the product of material. There must be material explanations that don't depend on some sort of woo-woo, mystical, vital force. And so, and that sort of how can we explain this mechanically? How can we explain this in terms of physical, material reality? So they no longer needed to depend on something to represent symbolically that external force. Now they were able to kind of look at the Turk and say, well, there must be some material explanation for this. But of course, looking at the machinery, and I think this is also as people become more familiar with new technology and sort of the industrial revolution moves on and people are more aware of how machinery works, then you look at it and you say like, oh, well, what I see inside, yes, it has mechanical moving parts, but I don't see an explanation for where intelligence or life is coming from. And so, like the intelligence that moves the hand that plays the chess, where is that coming from? I can understand it as these are the gears that move the arm. I can't understand this as a source of intelligence. And so they really struggled with that. So that's kind of how, like, increasingly people were left with like a mystery as to what to ascribe it to. Was it seriously possible to create something that was mechanical and yet able to perform intellectual labor, who could do, to think for itself in some way, or to follow some sort of logic? And then we get eventually to Babbage, which kind of leads the general public to say, maybe it is possible. But it also like created something of a crisis in terms of like how to explain this object. Yeah. Okay, so yes, and then cue Madonna. We live in a material world. Yeah. Okay. So we forgot to go into lecture screen. Hey, Lerone, welcome in. Welcome in. Let's give you a. Let's see. Show code. Playing the Long Dark. So we are on day 18. We have completed our 2 days that we rolled for Coastal Highway.
Ace Ventura 2.
Ready to go.
Go! No, not this way.
Most likely to the ravine.
Son of a gun.
And we'll roll again. But right now, we are on the island. It's a new day. It's time to go, and it's windy. Yeah. Oh, in other news, I just started the other day playing through Chapter 5, or Episode 5. Oh, this is not fun. It's just too windy to take a torch out there. We're going to wait an hour and see if it gets better. Initial thoughts, I'm only in the first part so far. I'm in Perseverance Mills. I haven't gotten very far. I'm out in the wilds looking for some missing people, right? And that's kind of where I'm at in the story. And I will definitely say I hear the complaint. I can see that complaint about sort of kind of a forced linear path that's kind of frustrating. I also feel like even though they gave you 3 different people to go find, it kind of feels like you're supposed to do them in a particular order. Because I went and I inadvertently found the person furthest away first, and then was like confused as to how I was supposed to get back to some of the other ones if I had missed them. Yeah, so that was that was not fun. I will probably go back to an earlier save and try a different approach to see if I can find like the closer people first, and then worry about the last one, which is way off in a different corner. Yeah, and I also felt that frustration with, like, there's so many doors in Perseverance that are locked, and some of them are just not interactive at all. And you, like, think, well, this feels like a missed opportunity. And I'm also really frustrated because I have not found a sewing kit, and I really want to fix my clothes. But yeah, so I do think, like, unlike how some of the earlier chapters worked. Oh, did we grab our... We did. We forgot to put them down, but we did grab them. So yeah, I will say that I would prefer to have a little bit more freedom. There's something floating up in the air there. Don't really have time to go check out all these things here. I'm not going to do a good job beachcombing. Where's our bear? I don't know. I did watch someone finish the chapter for the episode, so I do know how... pretty much how it ends. And I need to play through the rest of it to get to that point to really feel... to have a sense of whether or not I really believe it as an ending. But there is a part of me that already feels like a little bit of a cop-out. I feel like part of the problem, and I think I might understand why it feels so railroady, or why they opted to make it so railroady. I think part of the problem is anytime you introduce, like, extra NPCs and you make it open sandbox, you would have to plan for a lot more variance on lines of dialogue. If people are going to respond differently, depending on what you've done already, this is clearly not going to work. But it multiplies very quickly. We could go up there, we could get the note that would tell us where the stash is for the region, but we're not coming back here, so no point. Actually, we do want these. Yeah, I did feel like they were constrained by the fact that they'd already decided how the Long Dark 2 is going to start. And it presupposes, like, a certain ending. So then you're kind of stuck, like, forcing that ending. You remember a run or two ago when we came up here and we accidentally triggered the bear attack? Yeah, let's not do that again. Okay, I hear the bear. We're leaving our guts behind. It'll take us longer to get to our bow, but hey, I don't need to bring in the bear. Depending what we roll in the ravine, we may have plenty of time to get our guts. Well, last time our mistake was hauling guts, and that's how we got the bear following us. So we're not doing that again. We could go and pick up those saplings. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Come on, little fire.
We're too slow. Come on. Come on. Uh-oh. Nope. That did not work. We failed. What did we forget? Why is it so determined to eat us? You know, what would have been smart is if I had taken the Mackinac off. I think we have a Mackinac on. I think we just shredded our Mackinac. Not the crackers.
Ah, feeling faint. I gotta...
Oh, it's a... Okay. Could have been worse. We lost our pants. Our Mackinac is pretty damaged. Why are we so incredibly heavy? Oh, because I'm crawling. Mac is intact. Hey, just leave us alone, buddy. We are done. Well, I think the problem was I needed the campfire to hold them off, but it won't hold him off forever. Eventually, he will charge. And I just could not move. It was just too heavy, too slow. Yeah, but I honestly don't know. I always know it's a risk to come up this path, but at the same time, at this stage in the run, you need the cattails, especially if you're not going to return to coastal. To coastal highway. If you're not returning to coastal highway, that's a lot of food to give up. You should take it, though. And I was trying to do this thing which I've done successfully before, which is hit him in the nose with a lit torch, and he runs away. But I could not get him close enough to hit with a torch, and then he charged me, and I couldn't hit him. I missed the shot when he came, in range. So, yeah, it just didn't work out. Can't believe we lost our pants. That's kind of embarrassing, Astrid. Usually if I make this trip, I try to wait until I see the bear on the road. So I know he's going the opposite direction. He's not on the creek. But, I didn't get to do that this time. I didn't get lucky. I was in a rush. A lot of coal on the river today. And down to all the crappy torches. So we have both pairs of underwear. We're just missing pants and one of our hats. So we'll survive. Dude, there's a lot of coal this time. I don't remember there being this much. So I asked some of my colleagues at work about what to expect for, because the university is kind of vague as to how much they pay for these continuing education courses, but I do know that the university generally pays better than, like, is one of the better payers. How can I put this? Their compensation for professors and for sessional instructors and even for continuing education is supposedly quite generous in terms of Canadian standards. You know, usually for years they've been at the top. Apparently they are second right now, but trying to return to the same level of being top compensation for this type of teaching. So that's the case, then to teach a course, like a semester-long course, I've heard it might be 10,000. And so 10,000 to teach an evening class, I think would be, and an evening online class, just run it on Zoom and through email. Yeah, I mean, that's very reasonable. I could definitely do that. I've been teaching a lot of classes. You know, as a graduate student, I taught a lot of classes, and then privately I've taught classes, so I'm hoping that they say yes. But it would definitely be a nicer buffer for expenses. So I could actually go from not just like kind of scraping by each month to instead being able to save again. And also prepare for the possibility that I might have to move yet again. So, because this contract runs out in January, and I'll need to have another position lined up. talking to a friend of mine. This afternoon. I was in a D&D game, online D&D game where the DM in that game is also a recent graduate from the same library science program as me, and she has the added wrinkle of being, although she has family here in Canada, she is a U.S. citizen, and so has to navigate, finding. So she has to apply for the change of status, so she can. Well, basically, there's a 3-year window or 3-year period of time that she can get a visa to. It allows her to work for 3 years, basically, and then transition from that into permanent residency. So it's cool. The path to permanent residency is much more straightforward in Canada than it is in the U.S., but it still requires you to find work. And sometimes you just end up on the market at the wrong time. So, but they also give you a nice 3-month grace period after graduation to start that process of finding work. So you're not expected to be employed immediately. They allow you 3 months to kind of apply for something in the area. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, we're gonna. Well, that was dumb. Seriously? Okay, we want to quickly go and get our stuff. So let's quickly run over to the trailer, check and see if there's pants there, and then get out. Still have to cross the trestle bridge before it gets dark. Why are we so heavy? Throw that away for now. yeah, so this coming week I'm going to be around and we'll be streaming. And then the following week I am going to be in Montreal for a conference. And so will not be streaming because I will be busy with conference stuff. And I won't have access to my gaming rig, so. Food.
Thank you.
Okay, how are we doing for cloth? We've got 11 pieces of cloth. Do. Let's see here. Okay. We're gonna skip the corpse in the tunnel just because we don't have time for that. Sorry, I got to figure out why this. Hmm. Okay. There was this annoying thing where the taskbar at the bottom of the screen kept staying there, and I couldn't see what my condition was. Like, I'm in bad condition right now. Yes. We need to get warm. I'm still going to take cold damage. Okay, we got to get through to the other side. We have to warm up. Don't even know how long we're supposed to be there.
Wait. I'm so cold. I'm warming up a bit.
Yeah, you just think that. That's not real. That's what I was worried about. We're getting cold. Not a good feeling. Do we have? We have no stem. We should have been warming up teas. Start a fire here. It sucked to lose his run before we could even cross the bridge. Or we fall off the bridge because we're staggered.
I'm not going to be able to carry this load for much longer.
But not good. Not good indeed. We're going to fall in the fire? That would suck. We have no, we have no birch bark tea. That's kind of sucky. I have a feeling we may fall off of the trestle bridge if we try to cross right now. We just need to get through the other side. Sleep for an hour, then cross the bridge in the dark. Hopefully a little bit of, oh, this is terrible. I don't think we're going to make it. We're still losing. I don't know. It's looking bad. The bear did us in. The bear did us dirty. The bear and the stupid taskbar that was blocking my view of my health. And I didn't see I was dropping too fast. Okay, come on.
This pack is getting too heavy to carry.
Okay. Oh, we don't have a bedroll. The only thing we do is we could build a snow shelter here.
Come on, little fella.
This sucks.
Perfect.
Oh no. We're not going to make it. We didn't plan this right. The snow shelter will not fit here. We're dead. Oh no. No, we're all... Oh, I guess we're on 9. Yeah. Oh no. The bear did us in. That was awful. We can't rest because we can't build a snow shelter.
The sun is setting. It's gonna get a lot colder soon.
Try once again, see if we can find a place to stick this. Oh, we saw the green. Where is it? Where does it go? Okay, here we go. Gotta get rid of Why do you guys show up at exactly the wrong time? Man. The positioning problem's like a real issue. It just really annoys me that it shows you briefly that you can do it, and then you can't find it. See? Saw it again. Oops. No. Can't figure out how to place this thing. Why is it so hard to place? Realize if I place it from the wrong angle, I'm going to freeze to death while trying to build it. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like I saw it flicker once. I think in theory I can place it. I just don't know why it's so hard to place this thing. Yeah, but we also can't live... We can't cross the bridge like this. It's going to be a nightmare. Yeah, I think we have accidentally placed the fire exactly where we need to put the snow shelter. So we're really screwed on this one. And the wind's picked up, so we can't even carry a fire, which means we're just going to lose points. We won't even make it to the trestle. We'll just die before we get there. Yep. If we could just rest. If we could just rest, we'd be fine. Oh, hold on a second. Let me see what's going on with that. Sound alerts. Oh, we logged this out. We have to relog in. Try it again, or let's see. Let me run it again. Where am I? They changed? Yeah, there it is. And there's ours. Yeah, they reorganized things, so I'm not quite certain where they put everything. Okay, we're going into the long dark. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here. No, it's too close to leave Ravine. Is it possible to build something here? Yes, it is. 775 calories. See if we die building a fire or die building a snow shelter.
Come on, little fire. Come on.
What? What happened here? Why'd you do that to me? Took my spot. Amazingly, we worm by 1 point. That's insane. Okay. We will likely not make it, but we will try. We'll eat our crackers as our final farewell. We should know, anyways, how long we were supposed to be here, so... yeah, we're not going to make it. It's the long goodbye. Good night. Good night, Astrid. We're not going to make it. Oh no, the bear killed us. The bear totally killed us on that. Oh, that was so sad. It's sad because we had finished forging. We had just run out of time. We couldn't craft a bow. And so we had to get out of there. And we never found the bedroll. And not having the bedroll like severely limited our ability to move through the world. It was really, really sucky. So, I mean, there's a reason why it took me 30 attempts before I beat this challenge the first time. And yeah, there's a lot of frustration with this, but it is what it is. 18 days this time. Where are we sitting at here? Well, the Blackrock loss was hard. Losing Blackrock was pretty brutal. So the run that we had a run where we started in Blackrock, but we inexplicably succeeded in getting out of Blackrock, staying the amount of time we had to stay, and getting out. And things looked good. And then we just died in the stupidest way possible in Crumbling Highway. Look, just like a weird wolf attack that zigged instead of zagged, and we got taken out. It was so dumb. So incredibly dumb. Yeah, so okay, so what we're sitting at here, we've put an hour in tonight. We could try to start a new run. We could go in, I don't know if I want to play the... I'm kind of content to play Wintermute off screen so you don't have to hear me whine and complain about things as much. Or fumble. It was like I had one first time out into the Perseverance wilds. I like overestimated, or I did not anticipate how difficult it would be to find shelter, and so I kind of hubris got in my way, and I got out too far and ended up freezing. Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, we might just call it early. Oh, you know what we could do? We could do a little show and tell. I have not put any work in, but it's been a while since I did a show and tell with the Into the Dark Woods. So we could do a little of that, and I've done, I think, tiny bit of work in tidying up some loose ends, but it's still a lot of work left. Think we should save that for another time? Okay, maybe we'll do that. Yeah. It's getting close. Well, I'd like to say it's getting closer, but that was actually my plan for this past week, and I ended up getting sidetracked working on a different project. So I say working on a different project. It was actually me watching a lot of TV instead of doing anything productive. I had 2 productive days and 3 days of not productive, but okay. Okay, so I guess we'll do what we usually do then. Is it's the end of the stream. It's the end of this particular run. We will read a poem before we go, and then we will go find someone to raid. Okay, we can read that. We'll read something. Most of the ones we've read the last few weeks, or the last few streams, have been from The Lost Country of Sight. But tonight we'll read something from Babbage's Dream, my second book of poetry. And we're going to read something. This is entitled Babbage, Troubled by Vision at His Wife's Grave, 1827. So, let's see, a little bit of context here. So, Babbage here refers to Charles Babbage, who you hear us frequently talk about. This is a 19th century mathematician, engineer who designed, partially built, but never finished what would have been the first computer. And I became kind of obsessed with researching and thinking about him during my dissertation. Probably even before that, I was, as a former computer programmer, still programmer, I guess, these days. I have always been interested in the history of computer science and really interested in Charles Babbage as this person who designed, like, basically invented the modern computer, but 130 years ahead of his time. Like, it would take another 130 years before people were able to build a computer of equivalent ability. He was working with gears and made his computer completely out of mechanism. And in the 20th century, they had the ability to work with digital systems instead. So they had vacuum tubes and they relied on electricity for their switches. And so that was the big difference. His was mechanical, theirs were electrical, and therefore electronic. But in this particular poem, Babbage, troubled by vision at his wife's grave, 1827, this has to do with a really interesting period of time, a very tragic period of time for Babbage. In 1827, there was a fever epidemic that went through all of England. And that year, he lost his father, his wife, and 2 of his children, all to the same epidemic. And so this particular poem begins with an excerpt from a letter that he writes to Pierre Prévost. And it seems unrelated at first because it is an account that he gives of his own vision impairment. And we learned something interesting about Babbage as having a particular vision impairment where at the horizon line, he would see things doubled up. So at close distances, it was fine. But if you looked out the furthest distance he could go, things would start to double up. And the only way he could correct that was what he writes to Pierre Prévost as his little solution. He says, "When I look through a small hole made in a card, or through a small opening between my fingers and thumb, as I very often do to see more clearly, I lose the weaker image." Okay. Babbage, troubled by vision at his wife's grave, 1827. The horizon always doubles when you look up. The rim of day moon clouds for a moment. Anything distant splits into two. A chimney, a belfry at the district over, the dark plume of a far-off train, the tall mass of ships at sea, even the dull birds circling here, repeat images, one above another. So too the men and women gathered round you in black finery, the sable horses shuffling, the silver-trimmed hearse, the gleaming ropes lowering the coffin descending now into the earth. An almost imperceptible sway of things. The brass plate upon it bearing her name in relief, it too unfolding even as it fades into the imperfect light. Your outstretched hand rippling above the dark hole, the air full of memory, each atom refusing silence, some vast library of breathing, the words of the departed mingling with you, the one left behind, grieving, who now raises a numb hand to the eye, joins thumb and fingers to make a small opening from which you peer out in vain. How her face lingers at the edges, even as the light dies. So I kind of was riffing off of, I was thinking about like this horrific loss that Babbage experiences. And it's also what we learn from the accounts, his own writing, letters from others about him, is that he had a particularly strong bond with his wife. That there was, in fact, he was not the type of person that anyone expected would fall in love. He did not strike people as romantic. And yet here he was at a very young age when he's away at college. He goes to a random party. He's dragged to it. And there he meets, quite by chance, his future wife, Georgiana. And he is absolutely smitten. And by all accounts, not just by her beauty, but by her wit, her intellect. Just everything about her was fascinating to him. And he found himself completely taken. So much so that he announced to his father that he was going to marry her. And his father said, "You're too young. I'll disown you. And who is this woman? Why are you marrying her?" Because his father came from great wealth, was a banker and a gold dealer, and kind of a Scrooge, totally a Scrooge, and threatened to disown Babbage because he didn't think that this was a worthy match. And Babbage said, "Well, disown me then, but this is the woman I'm going to marry." So there's this moment of incredible romantic performance on there's a genuine depth, a sentimental, romantic side of Babbage that we never really hear about in the accounts of him as the scientist, as the mathematician, as the engineer, as the failed genius. And so, I wanted to capture that. And then when I read about the loss of his wife, and I also happened to read this account about his vision impairment and how things at a distance doubled, but then at the same time, when he put his hand to his eye like this, it would remove the distortion, but then in his own words says, "I lose the weaker image." And I thought, how perfectly understated and ironic that is for him to lose the person that he loves most and no longer be doubled up in this way. And so anyways, that's kind of the impetus for the poem. Okay, I will have to do some research into figuring out what in the world did happen to our sound alerts. I think they must have changed something on their side, and now they don't work the same way anymore. Or they're trying to... yeah, I swear they probably stuck more things behind a paywall. Things that used to be free are no longer free. I'm guessing that's probably what they did. Anyways, we'll do some research and figure out what went wrong here. Oh, they changed the chatbot. That's what's going on. Okay. Well, we'll have to fix that. Yeah, so thanks again. We are going to, we'll wrap up here. We'll figure out who we can go raid. And we'll be back again probably tomorrow night with a new run. So. Let's figure out who we can go raid. QC Gaming, Tier Forge, Slit Homes. Hop over the Bloody Cactus? Maybe? Yeah, we'll go visit Bloody Cactus. I do find it funny that we've lost 2 runs to the bear at Bear Creek, trying to leave the region. That's just funny and sad at the same time. Anyways, let's head out. And thank you all for hanging out, and we'll be back again tomorrow night.